All right, so let's talk about Pacquiao versus Barrios. And as excited as I am to make a video about a Manny fight, because Manny is my favorite fighter of all time, in case you guys don't know, Manny Pacquiao is the fighter who got me into boxing, who made me love this sport. I think by far, I mean, Noya Inoue is a very entertaining fighter today, but I think by far Manny Pacquiao is the most entertaining fighter I've ever watched. I know that some people don't have that opinion, but young Manny to me, there's not a fighter worth more bang for your buck in the history of the sport. In terms of tenacity, volume, punching, stamina, style points, giving you angles, footwork, just really could kind of do everything. And even in his prime, I think he was an underrated defensive fighter in a lot of ways, an underrated defensive fighter for how much he let his hands go. It's a lot harder to be a good defensive fighter when you let your hands go as much as Manny does. And I think Manny actually did a decent job taking care of himself over his career. I think he really had a much more complete game than a lot of people give him credit for. I think he's one of the greatest of all time. But this fight doesn't make sense except to facilitate a Mayweather rematch, and that's why I don't like it. And I've kind of seen that from the beginning, and now hearing on this Cloister video that was uploaded today that that rematch is already rumored to be in talks. It makes me worry that this isn't going to be a genuine fight, and I don't want to put that on Mario Barrios. I don't like that. I don't want to make a prediction based on that. But if Pacquiao does knock out Barrios, I want to see it. I want to see what it looks like, and I want to be able to judge for myself whether or not it was artificial. Because, who knows? Maybe they make the Mayweather rematch anyway, even if Manny loses, just for the sake of the money. But doesn't this whole coming out of retirement thing for Manny just seem a little weirdly timed? It doesn't really make sense. He's incredibly wealthy. I can't imagine he spent all of his money. And he doesn't have anything left to prove at all to anybody. And if I was him, I wouldn't like racking up that 10th professional loss. I would like keeping my professional loss number at under 10, at a single-digit number, And just on paper, Mario Barrios is not easy work here. He's the younger man by, 17 years, 16 years? Believe me, you're going to see that in the ring. You're going to see that on Saturday night. There's going to be a lot of ways that that's noticeable. Manny is not going to be as fast as he thinks he is. I'd imagine he'll look best at the start of the fight, like against Thurman, like against Ugas, like against all of his recent opponents, obviously. But that's a result of his age. And the number one thing for me that Manny is going to have to watch for going away when it comes to his age, which one of his tools is the most likely to leave him, it's his ability to take damage. Mario Barrios, I've heard him described over and over again as just a very consistent fighter, an above-average fighter. But the one thing that he actually does exceptionally well is punch to the body and go to the body. And this is a 12-round fight. Manny Pacquiao is essentially coming off the bench for a full-length world title fight with no warm-ups. There's no way that Manny looks good in the late rounds of the fight. So, by my mind, the only way that Pacquiao could get any kind of decision here is by dominating the entire first 6 rounds of the fight and probably scoring a knockdown. That's not going to happen against a larger, younger, and probably faster man in Mario Barrios. That just isn't happening. So to me, if you take the circumstance out of account, if you just go on pure boxing, this fight seems like a doomed prospect for Manny Pacquiao. I don't really see a way that he can win this other than a big punch landing early on in the fight, which I would absolutely love to see, but I'm not going to pick it. I think that Manny's going to be out of energy by round 7, round 8. I think Barrios is a young professional world champion who hasn't taken 5 years out of the sport. I mean, that's probably the biggest advantage of all the many advantages that Barrios has in this fight. And I mean, just the picture you see up on screen now, you see just how much bigger Barrios is. And we're talking about a guy that's also faster. There aren't many comparisons I can actually make to the Tyson versus Paul fight because that was such a different thing. But when I was watching Tyson versus Paul, the first thing that I noticed was, okay, so Mike Tyson both has a movement disadvantage and a stamina disadvantage. How can you be expected to win a fight with a movement and a stamina disadvantage? And given what I said about Barrios' ability to punch to the body, why would I have any expectation that Pacquiao would have a stamina advantage in this fight? He had a stamina advantage in a lot of his fights in his younger career. Goodness knows he had a stamina advantage against Oscar De La Hoya and Miguel Cotto. But Manny Pacquiao, is a fighter who was tired in the second half of the first Juan Manuel Marquez fight, when I'm fairly sure he was still in his 20s. Right? This is a Pacquiao who's been tired in the second half of fights before, way back then. It's a Pacquiao who, like any human being, like any fighter, will get tired if he takes a lot of damage over the course of a fight. And for me, honestly, I just don't want to see Manny get hurt too bad. If Barrios piles on the pressure in the middle rounds, like I think that he will, and Manny's gas tank starts to fade, and it just becomes more and more burdensome to try to continue on as the smaller fighter, the slower fighter, I think it would be smart and it would behoove Pacquiao to know when to stop, when to quit in this fight, to not let himself take a big shot to the chin, to not let himself get knocked down, you know, a third time or even a second time. I think the referee should be very, very careful in this fight, and I don't want to see Manny Pacquiao take any undue damage. And if we want to do the Mayweather fight, like honestly, why not just do it? Why start it like this? Why take away a title opportunity from some other welterweight in the WBC ranking? Why potentially hurt the name of the WBC by getting, one of the most respected legends, if not the most respected living legend left in the sport, severely injured? I hope that Manny lands a first-round KO. I hope we get his best knockout since Ricky Hatton. That's not going to happen. I think Mario Barrios is going to win by a 6th or a 7th round KO. And if Turki Al-Sheikh wanted a Mayweather rematch, just get out the checkbook and make that fight. You know what I mean? Why put us through something like this? Why potentially get Manny Pacquiao injured? I hope that I hope that the next video I make about Manny Pacquiao is a celebratory one. I'm a huge Manny fan, and don't take this as any kind of a Manny Pacquiao hate video or a negative video about Manny Pacquiao. The man is 46, and quite frankly, I don't know why he's actually coming back to fight. I mean, for the money, but come on, he's got absolutely nothing left to prove.